In this video, I'm going to show you how to go from this to this. Lighting can literally make or break your video. And I'm not just talking about exposure, I'm talking about the position and the types of lights to use to craft your scene. I mean, prior to now, I never really put that much effort into lighting on my channel or for CK Productions as well. But finally, I was met with the challenge of shooting my videos in an area this small. Just setting up the camera and relying on natural light just wasn't going to work this time. When I was in film school, we would use these really hefty lights that drew so much power and often would trip the breakers in people's houses. It would require so much crew to set up and tear down. I think going through this kind of turned me off. Get it? Because it's lights. They turned me off to the idea of lighting because it just was so cumbersome. But again, with the rise of a lot of creators doing this and coming from a myriad of backgrounds, not just film, the options for lighting became simpler and simpler. So for this lighting setup, I'm using a total of 3 lights, all lights that can be remotely dimmed and color balanced from your phone. So why don't we take off these lights and talk about them one by one. So we'll first start with our key light. That would be this one here. This is always gonna be your main light when you're lighting a scene. I chose to go with the Aputure Amaran 100DS daylight balance light with the Aputure Amaran Light Dome Mini SE Softbox. A light and a softbox that were built for each other. Softbox lights are a fantastic setup for key lights, especially for talking heads like vlogging and interviews. It's a great way to get soft, even lighting on your subject. Without it, it still looks pretty good, but the lighting is pretty harsh on my face. There's also a nice gradual fall off in the light that creates a nice vignette around my body in the scene. I have the light positioned directly in front of me, slightly to the side above the camera, and pointed down at a 45-degree angle. From here, it's important to kind of shift yourself and find the right spot. I decided to shift myself back a little bit because if I was sitting right about here, the light makes a pretty prominent shadow over my eyes because of my protruding forehead. So you want to shift yourself or your subject around to find the spot that works best for your setup and the person's facial structure. Now, for most lighting setups, you typically have a key light, a fill light, and a backlight. That's called 3-point lighting. I do have a 3-light setup, but it's not exactly a key, a fill, and a backlight. It's more like one big key
and 2 backlights.
For the backlights, we have 1 on either side with 2 contrasting colors. For the backlights, I chose to go with the Aputure Amaran T2C LED tube light. They're really neat lights, and they're especially cool because they kind of look like lightsabers.
No, I am your father.
They're super handy lights because you can use the app on your phone to quickly change the exposure or the color balance on the fly. You can change it for whatever works for your setup, but contrasting colors is usually your best bet for these lights. I position them right outside the frame here and allow them to bounce off the white wall in the back, but I'll also allow them to kind of tap the edge of my shoulders and the computer behind me to separate us from the background. When you're not working with a very interesting background, which certainly is the case for me, using different colors can be very important. If I just left them in daylight balance, it still looks well lit, but it's not very eye-catching. Adding color can go a long way to transforming your scene. These lights are super useful because I can also use them for B-roll, for my gear, and also for other product shots as well. Having multi-function lights can be a great time and money saver. The best part about this is all customizable on the same app. I'm not sponsored, by the way. I just really like these lights. If we're feeling more purple today, we can make it purple. If we want a more dramatic effect, we can do that too. If we want to party, we can party. You see, this lighting setup is so much more fun and approachable to work with. If you're doing consistent talking head vlogs, interviews, this is the perfect low profile, low energy, and somewhat low cost option for that. There's definitely cheaper options to go with. And if you do go that route, you're going to want to make sure you're using the same concepts with those lights. The great thing is with these lights, if you treat them well, they will last you for a really long time. What kind of lighting setups do you use for your videos? What's worked best for you? In my next video, I'm going to dive deeper into Unreal Engine and reveal the steps I took to make my most recent 3D animated video. Be sure to like and subscribe to catch that video and more weekly filmmaking content. With that, keep on partying, my friends.